far too long since we had a reason to return to the wonderful and deadly world of Pandora. But now it's time with Gearbox's awesome shooter, Borderlands 2. The original hooked me with its great gunplay, constant stream of loot, and generally hilarious writing, but had plenty of room to grow. A few minor complaints aside, developer Gearbox has succeeded in making the sequel an improvement over the first in every way.
Everything must die!
I'm racking my brain trying to think of a name for that diamond pony I bought. I was going to call it Piss for Brains in honor of you, but that just feels immature. Hey, maybe Butt Stallion? Nah, that's even worse. I'll tell you what, I'll give it some more thought.
The story of the original Borderlands was clearly shoehorned in around the gameplay. It had moments where it came together, sure, but overall it felt flat and forgettable. With Borderlands 2, the studios really upped their game, weaving together all the characters and jumbled plot points of the first game into a story that makes sense. You play as a vault hunter, essentially a badass treasure hunter who's on Pandora to look for vaults. Sadly, Handsome Jack, the game's villain, has other plans, and before you know it, you're wrapped up in a quest to stop Jack from destroying the entire world. The story's a bit cliched, I know, but it serves as an easy to understand backdrop for the excellent writing. Borderlands 2 really pushes the witty writing and crude humor that came out in much of the first game's DLC, with quests that introduce you to a number of bizarre and funny characters.
Got a very important tea party coming up and my date is missing, and I am not going stag, don't even suggest it!
The main story has the odd moment that even manages to be touching, though this often feels a bit out of place considering the rest is filled to the brim with creative and well-written gutter humor.
Bonafart. That's right, we're calling them Bonafarts now.
Gearbox has done a better job this time around with making your character feel more like your character. While the options are still really limited, they've added the ability to change the skins on your head and your body. More importantly, they've reworked much of the interface, resulting in a number of improvements to the overall experience. There are subtle things, like the way the menu pulls outside your character, the addition of more options to sort your quests, and an always-on minimap that makes Borderlands 2 feel much improved over its predecessor. The sense of place in the world of Pandora has never been stronger either. The lands you explore and the creatures you fight all establish the feeling that you're on a world that feels at once alien and somehow akin to Frontier America. And while you return to a couple environments from the first game, the new, sprawling sections of the world you get to explore are diverse enough not to become boring and pretty enough to occasionally warrant a good look around. Sadly, occasional technical issues did pull me out of the experience, but since they're seemingly random, it's hard to say whether you'll see them on your platform of choice. From parts where objects and enemies got caught in the world, to scenes like this, where the Gunzerker gets trapped in a cycle of death. There's also a tiny bit of texture pop-in that occurs across all platforms. Progressing through the story so you can see those credits roll is a perfectly fine reason to play through Borderlands 2, but for many more people, it's the grind that's the most rewarding. Just like Diablo, randomly generated loot drives the gameplay experience. Each time you gun down an enemy or tear open one of the many chests and containers, there's the chance that a shiny new gun will tumble forth. The best moments come from running up to a freshly discovered weapon, comparing its stats against those of your current loadout, and then equipping it to see how it works. When you strive to get past a really tough quest or boss fight, and you get that one gun that perfectly suits your playstyle, it's just so damn rewarding. Of course, all that killing and looting nets you levels, which you can use in Borderlands 2 revamped skill tree system. Outside of each class's unique ability, the original Borderlands didn't do much with the skill trees to make each branch feel all that different or more viable than the others. This is not the case with 2, where each class's skill tree not only has more skills to put points into, but each branch has good enough powers that you'll feel hard-pressed when choosing where to allocate points. While not all the classes can create super diverse builds, Borderlands 2 definitely managed to make skill trees feel more significant, and to make classes feel much more adaptable to your playstyle. The game's 4 classes all play great too, and who you pick really just comes down to your playstyle. If you want to be super aggressive, you can check out the dual-wielding maniac that is the Gunzerker, or the turret-slinging commando. Those of you who appreciate a bit more subtle approach can play the magic-feeling siren or the ninja-like assassin. They're all worth playing, and after you finish the campaign and then play it again on a New Game Plus, you could always roll a new character for another go. If going through 30 plus hours of shooting and looting alone sounds boring, you can always join up with up to 3 other players in Borderlands 2's seamless co-op. If you join a friend's game, you can complete quests you've already finished, and if you do quests you haven't discovered, you'll always have the option to skip them in your base game. It's really smartly done. Less smart though is the fact that the loot is shared between all players, meaning if you're playing with strangers or even gung-ho friends, you'll need to work to get the loot distributed equally. My advice, pick your partners wisely unless you want to be frustrated. Alone or with friends, Gearbox knows how to make a shooter. The enemies are varied enough to keep engagements interesting, and the shooting controls feel appropriately snappy, making combat something to look forward to. Vehicles are also still present in Borderlands 2, though like the first game, they're still largely underutilized, mostly just serving the purpose of getting you from A to B. Still, the occasional mission that makes use of them makes for a good change of pace. While some things like the visual customization to characters don't go far enough, and there are a few annoying technical issues, Borderlands 2 is a great improvement over its predecessor. The humorous writing will have you laughing, and if you're susceptible to loot addiction, you'll find an ample supply to collect, collate, and pine after. With fantastic shooting and hours of game to play, and then play over and over, Borderlands 2 is a shooter no one should pass on. For more on Borderlands 2, you can go to IGN.